Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to Ashland's 2020 deliberative session. I'm Bobby Horder, your town moderator. To my right is the town attorney, Charlie Smith, the town manager, your board of selectmen. This year they've moved Sandra Coleman. She's a member of the budget committee, but today she's acting as my assistant moderator, and she will be timing presentations. Everyone should have picked up your red voting card. Make sure you've registered if you're an Ashland voter with the supervisors. Your voter's guide listing all the warrant articles. There's other different articles pertaining to different departments right at the back table. These documents will help you follow along with today's meeting. Special seating to the right is for any non-Ashland residents or visitors. A couple of short announcements and we'll your opportunity as taxpayers to ask any questions you'd like. Anyone wishing to speak should raise their hand to be recognized by me before speaking. When you do go to the microphone, please state your name and have your red voting card with you. Today, I'll be presenting 37 warrant articles. Because we have so many warrant articles to address, initial presentations are limited to 5 minutes, responses to 3 minutes per speaker, and Sandra will keep track of the time. All votes will be taken by hand by holding up your red voting card. Non-residents allowed to speak are the town attorney as well as the town manager. Mutual respect for differing viewpoints during today's business session is expected. Now we will begin. The first article, I will be announcing the slate of candidates that will be on the ballot in March. 3-year term Board of Selectmen, Alan Silly and Jamie Lyford. There's 2 positions for that. Town Treasurer, 3 years, Linda Guyette. Town Moderator, 2 years, Bobby Horder. Trustee of the Trust Funds, 1 position, 3-year term, Rick Perret, Amanda Loud. Library Trustee, 3-year term, 1 position, Rick Perret, David Rule. Supervisor of the Checklist, 6-year term, 1 position, Terry Linden. Budget Committee, 3-year term, Jeanette Stewart. Budget Committee, 2-year term, 1 position, Kathy Beard. Cemetery Trustee, 3-year term, 1 position, Sherry Downing. Second article. Article 2, estimated tax impact for 2021 is 23 cents. Passage of this article shall override the 10% limitation imposed on this appropriation due to the non-recommendation of the Budget Committee. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $525,000 for the purchase of the former elementary school from Tri-County Community Action Program for the use of the Ashland Town Library, and to authorize the issuance of not more than $525,000 of bonds and notes in accordance with the provision of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA Chapter 33, for that purpose, and to authorize the selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon, and to authorize the receipt and expenditure of any federal, state, or private funds that may become available for that purpose. This particular article, because of the amount, will take a 3/5 ballot. Does anyone on behalf of the library wish to speak? Alice?
Good morning. My name is Alice Staples. I am the chair of the Ashland Town Library Trustees. I'd like to give you a little bit of brief history about the library in Ashland. I'll go over some previous attempts we've had to purchase the school, talk about the current warrant article, and try to answer some of the questions that people have asked recently. We also have some handouts at the back table that will answer some of your questions and give you some details about this project as well. Ashland has had a library since 1871. Next year, that's going to be 150 years, quite a milestone. The library's been located in the Scribner Building since September 11th, 1939. That's about 80 years, with no significant expansion except the porch renovation for the children's room that was done in 1977. The building and the land belonged to the town. It was bequeathed to the town by Emma Scribner for use as a community center. The entire will is available for you to read at the library, but here are a few important parts of her will that are pertinent to this discussion. To the town of Ashland, the land which I own, which is situated at the corner of Main and Pleasant Streets, together with the buildings thereon, in trust, for the following uses and purposes: to forever hold and occupy the same as a community center and park, and to be known as the Scribner Memorial. Buildings are to be used for this purpose as long as they are needed or remain in good condition, then removed and grounds graded in, so to use all the land as a park. To the town of Ashland, the rest and residue of my estate, both personal and real, but in trust, for the following purposes: the income only, to be used for this purpose and no other, namely to keep and maintain the Scribner Memorial as a community center and park for the people of Ashland, New Hampshire. It is my request that the town of Ashland shall elect or appoint trustees to have charge and take care of the grounds and to invest the funds. At that time, the trust fund equaled $40,475.70. That was in 1937 when the town voted to accept the bequest and establish the board of 5 trustees, 3 elected as town trustees of trust funds and 2 appointed by the Board of Selectmen. At the 1938 town meeting, the town voted to move the library to the Scribner Building. The building was renovated and the library opened on September 11th, 1939. Lots of people ask what will happen to the Scribner Building if the library moves out. That would be up to the town and the Scribner trustees. Currently, the Scribner Trust pays heating bills for the library and repairs to the building, but does not contribute otherwise to the running of the library. You all know we have our budget for the running of the library. The current issues in the building, and for those of you that have your library cards and visit often, you know that it's a pretty small building. It was a home. It was never meant to be a library. There's very little room for collections, and books need to be weeded out of the collection so we can make room for new books quite often. For any programming, furniture has to be rearranged so that chairs can be brought in. There's very limited amount of space when there are craft programs for children. There's no space to just sit and read a book or bring your laptop and use the Wi-Fi. There's no collaborative working space and no meeting space. There's limited access to our local historical materials. They are upstairs, which there is no access to the upstairs at this time. There are accessibility issues in the exterior, you know, the big steps coming up from Main Street, and there are steps from the Pleasant Street entrance, and then the back walkway is really too steep for people with mobility issues. The interior is not ADA either, so for wheelchairs it's very hard to get around in the building. And
Alice,
as you know,
can you kind of wrap it up?
Oh,
you've gotten your
oh gosh.
You've gotten your 5 minutes.
Okay.
You can hit the high points.
So how will the town benefit from the new library? A library is part of a community's infrastructure It's an important symbol of a town's success and sense of community. It's an educational asset to children and adults alike. It's a vital place of connection for the elderly. Being adjacent to the current school will enable the library to better serve the children of Ashland. Moving to the old school would have the added benefit of the town for reclaiming one of the historically significant buildings. An attractive, active library can be a major factor in people deciding to live in a community. As you all know, we've attempted to purchase this building before. In 2014, the price was $950,000. Tri-County Cap has brought the price down to their rock bottom of $525,000. That's what they owe the bank. We have collected $100,000 in our capital reserve fund and $6,000 from donations. That helps us equal that amount that will help offset some of the costs. If you know about the restrictions on we get questions about the restrictions on the use of the school building and why it can't be purchased for other purposes. It cannot be used for residents. It can only be used for nonprofit. I have the whole, I won't read the whole thing, but again, you can get that information at the library. We have looked at other places. How am I doing? Keep going?
You're way over.
I'm over?
You're
okay.
way over, yeah.
All right. We've looked at other places. This is a great deal. We really would not be able to build another library for less than $1 million or renovate the Scribner building for less than $1 million. So I would urge you, it's time to vote for this. 23, if you own a house, $100,000, $23 a year is not a big price to ask for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call for any questions, but I neglected to announce something. On this Article 2, this was recommended by the Board of Selectmen on a vote of 4 to 0 to 1. It was not recommended by the Budget Committee 4 to 3. That's part of my job to let you know. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead. Go to the microphone.
I'm a lot taller than Alice. My name is Amanda Loud. Woo! I'm tall. My name is Amanda Loud. I am a Board of Selectmen appointed Scribner trustee. Everything that I am about to say is my sole opinion and does not in any way represent the Board of Scribner trustees. When I became a Scribner trustee in May, I went to the town library to find out what the Scribner Fund was. And this is what I gathered from public documents in our town reports. This is the current state of the Scribner Trust going back 20 years. As you can see, it is depleting. Now, the reasons it is depleting I can go into detail about, but right now, as far as the library is concerned, everyone needs to understand that the fund that is currently paying for the heat and the maintenance on the Scribner building will not be there. Now, how much longer will this last? I don't know. I can't see the future. I can certainly see the past. Now, in my opinion, this thing might be able to make it 4 or 5 more years. It may be gone a year from now. Let me explain. When Emma Scribner left her house to the town of Ashland at her death, she also left a small trust to support that building. And the amount she left in 1936 was $40,475.70. Every legal answer that I have read, and there is a dispute among the Scribners about this, but every legal answer I have read states that we cannot spend that principal that Emma Scribner left. Therefore, our 0 point of depletion here isn't 0. Our 0 point of depletion is $40,475.70. Right now, the trust, I looked at it last night, is valued at $101,600 something. So roughly $100,000. Well, we don't have $100,000 left to spend because we cannot spend $40,500. We've got about $60,000, $59,500, something like that left to spend. Now, historically speaking, the Scribner trustees have spent about $10,000 a year on maintaining this building. The Scribners put forth a user's fee to the library in a letter in December, asking the library to pay a user's fee of $10,000 a year. Because the library does not have an income, that $10,000 a year will come from Ashland tax bills. You also need to know, coming from Ashland tax bills, that of that $10,000 a year, $1,000 goes for fees on the way this trust is invested. Another $1,000 goes into the pockets of the Scribners who are taking stipends and have done so for decades.
Okay, can you wrap it up?
Wrapping up, at some point, this library is going to go on the Ashland tax bill. I don't know when that will happen. It could happen 5 years from now. It could happen a year from now. All we need is a good market contraction, and a free market economy cycles. That is a fact. The economy is doing really well right now, but at some point it will turn, and I don't know how hard. And when it turns, this thing's going to hit the 40,475.70 mark pretty quickly. Depletion is an extremely steep calculus. It happens fast.
Okay.
I personally am going to vote to buy the school building in March because at least it gets the library out of the Scribner building. We cannot padlock the building because we are obligated by New Hampshire state law to maintain a library. We can't simply shut down the building, but we can get the library out of there and then decide what are we going to do now.
Okay, you dropped your thing. I have to open it up to other questions. Any other questions?
Jane Sawyer. I have some questions. First of all, I want to say that the Friends of the Library have done an amazing job increasing the programs. I'm sorry. I'm short. The Friends of the Library have done an amazing job increasing the programs that they have, and now they have programs which reach out to different ages, and I think that's fantastic. I do support a town library. However, I do have some concerns about expending this kind of money for a new library. I understand Amanda's comments about the $10,000 depleting and becoming a town burden. While I think $10,000 is a lot more reasonable than spending this kind of money to buy the old school building. The other comment I noticed, they say the current library expenses run about $20,000 a year that comes out of the town budget. They're saying estimating $17,000 for the school. Is that in addition to the 20, or is that all of it? And how can a 3-story building be less than a 1-story library? The 1-story library, they don't pay the heat either. So that's another factor that will come with the school. Also, the understanding I have is the town will have to do the plowing of the driveway, the parking lot, and I assume the sidewalk going up to the school. I don't believe that is included in this expense either. The concern I have too is about the fact the restrictions that come with the school. It has to be a nonprofit. It can't be a dentist, it can't be a pediatrician, it can't be any other kind of service. With that restriction, that's part of the problem Tri-County has had. If we get the library there and it doesn't work out, guess who's stuck trying to sell the building with the same restrictions? That'll be the town that will have to do that. The other question I have, because it's being moved up so close to the school, has the school been approached about possibly combining the libraries? Because they have one right there. And it seems crazy that you have a library you can see from the school to the old school building, and we're expending double costs. The other concern I have is, in all the years that this matter has come up, I don't feel that there's been any type of fundraising independent of voter funds. It's almost like, let's have the voters pay for this. Let's have the voters pay for maintenance. Let's have the voters pay for expenses. You know, I know this is not going to be an easy project. It wasn't an easy project when the building got renovated up there, but you've got to start somewhere and you've got to get extra funding.
Okay.
Am I done?
Well, yeah. And you've asked several questions. Alice, do you want to address some of her questions? Or whoever wants to address. I would assume it's Alice.
Thank you, Jane. The funds that we've stated, the $17,000 that we approximate will cost at the old school building, is in addition to what we pay now for our current budget. I don't have an answer about the plowing costs. Maybe if Craig's here, he can talk about how much more that would cost to plow that building. Combining libraries, public libraries and school libraries has been tried in other towns with not much success, and I'm not sure how much savings there would be. We certainly anticipate that we're going to be having after-school programs with the children of the Ashland school. We have had some fundraising attempts in the past. I think that if this project passes, we're going to be in a better position to fundraise with something tangible. Right now, we're asking people to give money for a building project, a renovation. We don't really know what it's going to be because we don't know if we're getting this building. I think there's lots of possibilities for fundraising. As a matter of fact, anyone can go onto the library website, and with a simple click, you can contribute to the library building fund. So we've had a few fundraisers, and we'll certainly try to do more.
Thank you. Lisa?
Good morning. My name is Lisa Rollins, and I am a staff member at the Ashland Town Library, and a resident and a taxpayer. Through the vision and hard work of Ashland residents, we enjoy some of the best amenities in central New Hampshire. We have so much to be proud of: our beach, playground, ballpark, schools, public safety departments, to name a few, and our library. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, we have voted to support and maintain these important infrastructure features in our town. The Ashland Town Library has been housed in the Scribner home since 1939. The building was once a home. It was never designed to be a library. We are now going into our 81st year in a building that is sorely lacking the amenities of a 21st century library. In the past 80 years, there has been nearly nothing done to the building to meet modern safety codes. Some people cannot gain access to the building because it is not ADA compliant. The library space consists of 3 very cramped rooms on the first floor and a converted porch. We have 2 staff members working in a space designed to accommodate 1 person. This space is about the size of the front seat of your average sedan. The library director does not have an office in which to conduct the daily business of the library. We have regular events and programs in the library where we have to move heavy library furnishings in order to accommodate the number of people that have signed up to attend. There are sign-up sheets and waiting lists. We turn people down who want to attend a program because there simply is not enough space in our library. While some programs can be held in other locations, this is generally not the case. The logistics of moving a library event is cumbersome at best. The teen program has gained much popularity in the past few years. We certainly do not like telling the children they can't come to a program because there isn't enough room. Many of our teens are at-risk youth. We provide a safe place every day with snacks and activities. The library simply does not have enough room for them to hang out and be themselves. There's no space for them. The book discussion groups, knitting and craft groups, again, there's not enough space. We would like to offer many other free library programs of interest to the public, but again, due to lack of space, it is not possible. We have one small table located in the back room, near the back door. This is the only work-study space available. There are meetings being held at the table. It is not a quiet area to work and study. There is no other room in the library for these types of activities.
Lisa, can you wrap it up?
Certainly I will. Thank you. Programs for preschoolers, school-age children, teens, and adults of all ages are free and open to the public. We provide many, many services beyond books to patrons. These programs are supported by our tax dollars and through the support and generosity of the Friends of the Ashland Town Library, our patrons, and many of our businesses. Some say libraries are no longer needed, but when you think about it, libraries are essential. They are essential to everyone. These services provided by your library go far beyond the realm of books alone. There are many families who cannot afford the luxury of internet services in their home. Much of the learning in our school system is now done in a digital format. How does a child without internet accomplish their homework? A vote for a permanent library for the home, a permanent home for the library, is not about having an ivory tower on the hill with all the bells and whistles.
Okay,
it is
Lisa,
about our future and the futures of our children, grandchildren, and generations beyond. It is about leveling the playing field, making knowledge and technology available to everyone, not just to those who can afford their own.
Okay, Lisa, I have to take additional questions from different people. I hate to cut you off. Steve?
Hi, Steve Felton, 41 Depot Street. I have two questions. One of them is, can you explain what the options will be with the existing Scribner building if we were to vote for this library? And number two, what is the town doing right now to look at the total assets that we have in property to see if maybe we can consolidate and sell some parts of it that are not being used, whether they're municipal buildings or property we may have been taken back from taxes?
Thank you. Do you want Charlie to discuss the municipal buildings and you talk about or?
I'd be glad to talk about the Scribner building if I could.
Okay. 3 minutes.
Thank you. Less than that. According to Emma Scribner's will, it states that when Ashland can no longer use the building, it is to be torn down and turned into a park. Now, whether or not that means that when the trust hits $40,475.70, that means that we're gaining another park is a bit of a question. Every legal answer that I have read on this says yes. However, it will probably mean that the town of Ashland is in court trying to get a judge to decide, now what do we do that the trust has depleted? Are we getting a park, in which case we got to move the library, or will the town be able to take over the building? I don't know. No one does right now.
Okay, thank you. And as far as use of other buildings, Charlie, do you want to address that?
We don't have a plan for that, Steve. The only thing that we've done is an LCHIP study, a historical structure report that does modifications to our current building. That report recommended that the PD possibly go to the utility building. Other than that, there's no other plans in place for other buildings in town.
Steve, does that answer your question?
Can I just, no,
Sure. You have another question? Sure.
just to follow up, so I understand what you just said. I guess my question is, would it not make sense to look at all the assets that we have to ensure that they're being used in the most effective way and that there's not assets sitting there that really just sit there and don't produce anything?
Yes, I agree.
And if that is agreed, what plan might we do to address that?
Charlie answered it, and I guess nobody else wants to speak to that. So, you have a question, ma'am? Go up to the mic.
Hi, my name's Jenny Angel, and this goes along a little bit with the last question. This is a large expenditure, and I understand the Budget Committee wasn't recommending it because of the cost. Well, my question is, how does this, or can this work in with the whole economic development plan that the town is working on to reinvent what we are? Ashland has a lot of assets. This could be an asset, but is there any way to get this, or is it in a comprehensive plan of what might be able to happen?
Okay. All right, Fran?
Hi, Fran Newton. Thank you so much for the question. And I personally have thought about that in terms of economic development. For those of you who know me, economic development has been my passion. I have to say that one thing Ashland is guilty of is very short-term thinking. And one thing they do not do well is plan for the future. There was a time not so long ago we had no capital reserves, for example. We're getting better. We've had an opportunity for several years to do something with the mill, either to take it over and get cleanup funds, and nobody wants to deal with it. So it sits and it's falling further into disrepair at the point where we need to demolish it, for which we have no funds. I think the library would be a tremendous asset in this town. We have a first-class school, for example. That makes people with kids want to move here. Eventually, this building that they're in will have to go away or not be used for a library. We need to plan for the future. I'd also like to address some negative comments that I've heard. We sold it for $1, so why are we paying $500,000? Well, we're getting $1 million building for $500,000, and as Alice has stated, and they've looked at all kinds of other options, believe me, it would cost us over $1 million to do anything to get a new library. So this is a bargain. It is a bargain not just for the library, but for the school and for the town. And I think it's very short-sighted and very short-term thinking to not think about what this would present for the town in terms of economic development. We talked about empty storefronts. Yes, we have them. But we need to have reasons for people to move to this town. A school is one of them, a library is one of them, and we need to take some risks and start thinking about taking care of some of the messes that we've got for our future. I personally think the library is a great first start.
Thank you. Is there any other questions about the library? Dave? We got to focus on the library.
My name is Dave Toth. I know that the library has done a study that took a look at a lot of the other available buildings in town. They also took a look at the size of the library that we would need for our town, and I was wondering if someone from the library could just go over some of that information briefly so everybody is aware of that. My only comment is that if the Scribner building goes away, we are required by law to have a library. And if you look at the buildings...
Okay,
Yes.
he's got the microphone. Please don't speak
Right.
out of turn.
So our option at that point, and we know the Scribner building is going away, so our option at that point is to spend $1 million or more for a new building, or to renovate some of the other buildings in town which are not as will not be as effective as the library as the building we're looking at, or to buy this building for $500,000. I know it's a difficult choice for voters spending that kind of money. It's a more difficult choice to spend another $500,000 and get less.
Thank you. Tony? I know who you are. Where's your red card?
It's over there. Although it said
okay.
purple card in the handout, so.
I know. I'm kidding.
My name's Tony Randall, a lifelong resident. I live on Owl Brook Road. I just have a couple of questions. One is, how much is in the capital reserve towards the library? And second, is that money going to be depleted to offset the $525,000? I didn't see anything in the handouts that says how much is currently in every capital reserve, and I think that would be important for the voters to know. So I don't know, because this is what I will tell you right now, is every time there's a capital reserve thing, I'm going to stand up and ask how much money is in it, and I would like to know that, and I think the people, residents of Ashland, should know how much is in these capital reserves we keep putting money in.
I believe I can
Okay.
answer that. Do you want to answer that?
The capital reserves, so everyone knows, are published in the town report every year by the trustees of the trust funds. It's the MS9 and MS10. Tom Peters recently did submit that for the town report. As of December 31st, 2019, the police car capital reserve had $32,591 in it. The fire truck capital reserve had $304,485. Public Works capital reserve had $58,070.
Right.
Okay, the library had $95,876.
Okay. And then the other question was, is that going to be used to offset the 525?
I don't have an answer.
So somebody from the library.
And I have something to interject here. I went to the public hearing of the Budget Committee when all the budget items were presented at the public hearing. I asked, which is a good question you're asking, what was in the capital reserve, and they had no figures. And so I requested, as town moderator, in preparing for today's meeting, I felt it's handy for voters to know what's in there. Is one down to 2,000 or whatever. So I have also a list that. And interesting enough, Charlie's figures are completely different than the figures I was given. So I don't know.
Thank you.
Welcome. Mardine.
I'm Mardine Badger, library trustee. I'll address a couple different things. First, what have we looked at for other properties? Several years ago, before I was on the library trustees, the board at that time looked at some areas in the mill area to see if there was anything suitable that could be renovated, and determined that anything that was there would be exceedingly expensive to renovate. And there were some areas that were not even suitable for renovating. Since I've been on the board within this last year, we looked at two particular properties. The first property we looked at was the liquor store up at the interstate exit. It's a flat, one-story rectangular building. Seemed possible for a library. As we began to look at it, it would need some renovations. It would need some upgrades in heating and lighting and electrical. It would need some upgrades in heating, and a couple of the interior back rooms with utility areas would need some major renovation. But one of our biggest concerns with that location was the traffic. That is a very small lot. It has limited parking devoted to that building. Most of the parking in that area is the property of the Irving station there. The other issue that we felt was a major problem, the one driveway into that area has a massive amount of traffic, from passenger vehicles to small business vehicles to large trucks. And asking children to walk across West Street and into the library through that driveway we considered was extremely unsafe. We looked at the Catholic Church property. It has 3 buildings on it. It is a large piece of property. It's a beautiful piece of property. When we looked at the 3 individual buildings, the church itself is small, does not have a lot of floor space, is not a lot larger than what we currently have as far as floor space. The function hall is a 2-story building. There is no handicapped access within the building. The stairway from the 2nd floor down to the lower floor is a very narrow, steep stairway in the back corner. That would needs some definite work within it. Again, the lower floor is much smaller than the top floor. The house, manse, I'm not sure of the right term, next to it has a lot of floor space. Yes, it's multiple floors, but there would be an extensive cost to deal with asbestos abatement, lead paint abatement. There is all of the painting inside is in very poor condition. Again, we would have to add an elevator. Second question that Tony had about the $95,000 capital reserve fund would be used for furnishing the building, which would be about, we've had an estimate on that of about $77,000, and we do need to do some minor renovation in the front entrance to create a circulation desk at the area and security doors.
Thank you. You've used your time. Does that answer a few of your questions? Thank you. Do we have any new questions? Are you going to ask a question that's already been addressed?
No.
All right, a new question on the library, and then...
The first one is a comment. So just so we understand, the additional expense for the school will be $17,000 or salaries. No, and one additional salary could be as low as $15,000 to $20,000. So that's about $32,000 more dollars on top of the $20,000 that's allocated to the library every year now. That doesn't even include the cost to purchase the building. The other question I have, they talked about ADA access to the existing library. I don't know how many of you have walked up the walkway to the old school, but there is no way someone handicapped is going to make it up there. So they would have to either go all the way around or drive around the back side. I'm assuming there's handicap access on the back side, but I don't know for sure. The only other comment I have too is my understanding is when it comes to the RSAs, that if a town starts a library, a town can vote to discontinue a library. The only time they cannot discontinue a library is if the library was donated or bequeathed, which my understanding is this library was neither. Thank you.
Thank you. Alice, do you want to address her question? And then we'll move on.
Not the RSAs. I will let
okay.
better legal minds address the RSA. In terms of the handicapped access at the new/old school, potential new library, there is an elevator, so once someone drove up to the parking lot, there is a on-grade elevator to gain access to the building.
Okay.
So it's completely handicapped accessible.
Thank you. Ms. Butterfield, you want? All right. Well, are there any other... Jeanette? Just for the ease, we're going to have Jeanette just speak here.
My name is Jeanette Stewart. I'm chairman of the Ashland Budget Committee, but today I'm speaking as a resident and a taxpayer. I've talked with many, many people in the town, and they're really, really worried because they feel that we cannot afford this, and I'm one of them. I don't feel we can afford it either. It was a petitioned warrant article, and it didn't go through in the past. And my feeling is the town is saying something. They're saying we can't afford it. If you say we need it, maybe we need it, but we cannot afford it. The town cannot afford it. The $525,000 is just to buy the building. That doesn't include any other expenses that come up. So you don't know what the expenses are going to be. It could be $80,000, it could be $100,000. So my feeling is, I just think the town cannot afford it, and I think it's too much to ask of the town. And Bobby, I'd like to make a motion. Can I make that now?
Are there any other questions? Okay, Craig, and then you'll make a motion. Craig, you have a question? Comment.
Craig Moore, Public Works Director. A lot of people have asked me what it would take to plow it, maintain it, mow the lawns and stuff, so I went up there last week, did a little walk around. Probably to plow it, it'd probably take 20 minutes. there's not a lot of places to put the snow, so we'd actually have to haul it away. And that takes a long time, a little bit of time. I don't know how long it would take, but there's a cost in that. There's a lot of little walkways and stuff, and we currently shovel the library that's existing. It takes us a little while. It's a huge walkway. It'd probably take a little more because there's emergency egresses. There's probably the oil access point. So I did another walk around. What's it going to take to mow it? That's probably all weed whacking, so that's going to be an hour or so more. The trees in the front, there's 6 of them, they're all aging. They're leaning right towards the wires. That probably needs to be addressed before the building's sold. The walkway to the school, we do maintain it, but you can't get to the library from that walkway because there's a black fence around it. So we'd have to make some sort of a cutoff, or kids are going to walk up the main driveway, which I don't think you guys want. But so are some of that. And just looking at the building itself, the wall out front's falling down. We could fix that with our equipment that we have, but that means putting probably a stone structure up. So there's a little bit of maintenance there, and then some of the maintenance on the outside of the building, the paint's starting to chip on the eaves. So it's something to look at, just so everybody knows what we're looking at.
Thank you
Thanks.
for the input. The attorney is going to address some of the questions on the law.
Yeah, so I think there's a question as far as whether it's by bequest and what your current library is and how that would be affected. But the citation for discontinuance of a library, which was mentioned, is 202A:18, which says any town now maintaining a public library established by expenditure of town funds may, by majority vote at a regular town meeting, discontinue said library. In case of such discontinuance, the library property of the town may be loaned or disposed of by the library trustees, subject to the approval of the Commissioner of Natural and Cultural Resources. The provisions of this section shall not apply in cases where a public library has been acquired by the town in whole or in part by donation or bequest. So the citation was correct, but how that applies to this case where the Scribners have designated some of this for that purpose, I think is a more involved question that I don't think I can answer today.
Okay, Jeanette, you wanted to make a motion? All right, Alice, go to the mic.
I just want to make it clear that this was not a petitioned warrant article. This was from the Board of Selectmen.
All right. Okay.
Yes, but not this time.
Right.
And I find it hard to believe that this town would vote to do away with their library. Again, Fran's comments about being short-sighted are very, very true.
Okay. Sandra?
You had a question?
My name is Sandra Coleman. I'm stepping down as assistant moderator. I am on the budget committee, but I'm here as a resident talking to you right now. I can't time myself because I forgot to put it on, but I'll stay within the 3 minutes. I agree with everyone's comments today concerning the library, and I do, access the library very frequently, and they're great there. My husband loves the people at the library. But in the past, this has been on the ballot as a petitioned warrant article in the past several times, and it's been defeated because your taxes will go up. And no means no. The taxpayers are the ones, and the ratepayers, who have voted against having the library because of the cost. And my question is, why has it gone from a petition warrant article to an article placed on the ballot by the Board of Selectmen, and who initiated it? That's my question to the board.
Okay. Charlie? Do you want to address that? All right, it's on the warrant. I don't know. All right. She'll address the no means no.
So the concept of no means no is an annual question. It's contained in 3210, which regards transfers of appropriations, which means that appropriations from other line items can't be transferred to a line item that was zeroed out or voted no in that particular year. It doesn't limit the ability for it to be put on the ballot each year, and each year the citizens, you, the legislators in this town, get to decide anew whether or not you want to appropriate that year. So the no means no is tied annually, so each time it comes up, you're voting anew.
Thank you. I heard you had a question. I have not seen you raise your hand. Can you go to the microphone?
Ann Richards, and I just...
We can't hear you. You're gonna...
Ann Richards. I live on Hicks Hill Road, and I'm a new resident. I have not lived here a long time, but I would like to say how appreciative I am of the librarians and the hard work they do. I don't know how they do it, and they remain cheery, even though they practically have to sit on each other's laps. And it seems to me that I know this is a huge amount of money, but it seems to me we would be getting a big bang for our buck. And if you look at Holderness, which just put on a new addition, I understand that cost. That addition was about $1 million, and we are getting an ADA compliant building. The whole building, it's a beautiful building, and it does have handicap access. I know that because I've used the elevator. I just think it would be a shame to pass up this possibility.
Okay, thank you. Sandra,
Yes, the second part of my question was, who initiated on the Board of Select for this not to be a petition warrant article, but their article, when in the past it has always been defeated? I know we have new board members on the Board of Selectmen. Who initiated, and why aren't they talking about it?
Somebody gonna...
I'm not sure what difference it makes who initiated it. As chair, I'll take the responsibility that it was a whole board decision, and we all supported it. Eli abstained only because his wife is on the Board of Trustees, but it was a unanimous decision that this should be on the warrant.
Thank you. I have to take she has a motion. I have to take a motion from, all right, Alice, go ahead, address the question. I didn't know there were new questions. She just made a statement that
Yeah, well, I had forgotten about the question about the retaining wall in front of the building. We have a representative from Tri-County CAP here. Reagan Pride is the chief operating officer, and he has told us that Tri-County CAP would be willing to fix that.
Okay, now he's going to what? Do a presentation?
No, he will be willing.
Oh,
Tri-County CAP will fix the retaining wall.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and you had a motion, which I'll repeat once if I get a second. Go ahead.
This motion is for Article 2. The motion is to read, I make a motion to raise and appropriate no more than $1 for the purchase of the former elementary school property and the rest of the... And I need a second.
Do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a motion that's been made and seconded. The motion reads to raise and appropriate, we're altering the amount. motion to raise and appropriate no more than $1. Do I have discussion?
I have to make it a separate motion. I make a motion that this be secret ballot.
Do I have a second on the secret ballot? And I have the signatures. I believe this goes to... I have signatures. I have to, by law, have 5 signatures of registered voters for a secret ballot. We're not adjourning, but we will set up to take, and it's a yes, no secret ballot. All right. David, you got to come here. I can hear you, but nobody else can.
Just so I understand the question, you're replacing the entire warrant article with that one sentence? Is that correct?
She's replacing the amounts that say $5.25 to no more than $1. The rest of it is the same? Is that what you're saying? Okay. The rest of us, I didn't have any... Okay. Oh. Well, I said, is there any discussion? I didn't say... Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
I understand what you're trying to do, but what you're doing is taking it completely out of the hands of the voters.
Okay. I have a motion to call the question.
You've got 2 motions on the table.
That's calling the question of further discussion. Then we're going to vote.
And a secret ballot motion on the table, and you've got an article.
You're correct. I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I apologize. Yes. All right. Thank you. I didn't catch that. Everyone in favor of a secret ballot, please signify by raising your red card. Okay. Everybody opposed to a secret ballot, raise your card. I would say the no secret ballot wins. Did the attorney say that it needed a motion? Well, the attorney, you said that it does need a motion? Yeah, we did. Okay, now, all right. A motion. I've got the 5 signatures. Well, yeah, no, I said that. I thought I said that. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. I was like this way. That's right. Everybody can ask. Okay, the attorney did not realize, I thought I announced it, that there were 5 signatures for that, and that's all it takes. The 5 signatures, and then there's a secret ballot. Now, what was the other motion that's on the floor? The amendment. Okay, now we're voting. No, we can't vote on the amendment because that's a secret ballot. That's what I was going to say. Okay, so now we're going, pardon me. Now we're going to vote on by secret ballot on the motion to adjust the line to $1 from $525,000. The meeting is not adjourned, it's just voting time. Okay, the time is 11 o'clock. We're going to start the secret ballot. Sorry for confusion on my part. Thank you for pointing that out.
The question has been what the question is exactly, because the choices are yes and no, and it is not written out. There's just been some questions.
What you're voting on is Article 2. Hello? What you're voting on is Article 2. There's been a motion and a second to adjust the amount from Hello, I'm trying to make some announcements here. There's been a motion and a second, and it's going to secret ballot to adjust the amount of Article 2 from $525,000 to $1. That's the motion you're voting on by secret ballot. Hello? For further clarification, a yes vote means your yes vote means you're going to adjust it to $1. A no vote means you're not adjusting it to $1. It stays the $525. Thank you. On this, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of the amendment to the article is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of not more than $1 for the purchase of the former, and then the rest of it goes on. And then the second part where it's authorized issuance of not more than $1 of bonds. That's what you're voting for. If you vote yes, you want it to be adjusted to $1. If you vote no, you're saying no to the $1 and it remains $525,000 unless there's another motion. That's what you're voting on. It was raised by the attorney that some people did not understand what they were voting on. Yes.
Ann Richards, and
Yes.
I think because people were unclear, we should have a revote before it's even counted, because I think people weren't clear of what yes and no meant.
I read it twice.
Yes, but people were halfway finished. Half of the people had already voted.
Are you going to make that in the form of a motion to redo the vote?
I guess I move to redo the vote and have it either put up on the screen what we're voting, or to have
we don't have the audio visual.
Or, this is low tech, write it out on a piece of paper for each of the voting booths what it is that a yes or a no vote means.
No, I'm not going to write Article 2 5 times. I'll be here for an hour writing this 5 times without access to a copy machine. I'm sorry. I will read it again. First, is there a second to that voting? I second it. Okay, now, all those that have a red card, all those in favor of having a redo on the secret ballot, please raise your red card. All those opposed to redoing your red card. All right, I'm going to have somebody count for me. Now during this, I'd appreciate if everyone would be quiet. It wasn't a social hour when we're voting, and there was all sorts of conversations up at the head table all the way through, so it's no wonder that people didn't understand what they were voting. I announced it 2 times. So now we are going to have, I'm going to ask the people if they're in favor of a re-vote of the the secret ballot. I need you to count. People weren't clear because people wouldn't be quiet and listen to what I was trying to say. This is a business meeting. This is not a coffee klatch. This is a business meeting and it's serious. I realize everybody sees each other, but you have to be quiet. So, Again, all those in favor of doing the secret ballot again, raise your... Okay, put your cards down. All those opposed to doing another secret ballot? You got 24 to 20 to 23. The motion, Amanda Loud, didn't you? You seconded it? Ann made it. Ann made the motion and Amanda Loud seconded it. So now we will go, I will go back here and we will, they can count. Thank you. I've had 2 registered voters do the counting that are not affiliated with the library, in fairness. The motion failed. 27 noes, which would be no, it's not going to go back to the 24 yeses. So Article 2, if I am correct, remains at $525,000. That remains. I have to give this to Patsy. She has to keep track. Is there anything more on, any more discussion on Article 2? Lisa, make it 3 minutes, please.
The pressing needs of the library are not going away today or tomorrow. The price the Tri-County Cap building is being offered at today is the lowest price it will be offered. For most of us, this cost is less than $1 per week. As a staff member at the library, I would like to take this opportunity to invite each and every one of you to come and see us and see for yourself the needs that we have at the library. A yes vote on Article 2 will ensure the future of our library.
Thank you. Ms. Downing?
Sherry Downing. I don't know, it's been an hour, we've discussed it. There's a nice video that the library did a nice presentation on YouTube. I think if people would like more information, the 51 people here, instead of the 1,581 registered voters in 2018, should do it. Can we call the question?
Motion to call the question. Do I have a second? Tony, second it. All those in favor of calling the question, which means we're not going to discuss this anymore. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, Article 2, the $525,000 for the purchase of former elementary property, I'm not going to read the entire thing, will appear on the warrant in March as printed. Moving right along after an hour and 30 minutes. Article 3, no tax impact. To see if the municipality will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to implement energy efficiency measures at the wastewater treatment plant and to authorize the issuance of not more than $100,000 in bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and to determine the rate of interest thereon. 3/5 ballot vote required. Recommended by Board of Selectmen 5-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee 601. Who's going to address the... Anybody going to address this? Okay.
In 2018, the Water and Sewer Commissioners had an energy audit done for the septic receiving station. This finance and those recommendations is basically what this article is for. One thing that we didn't add in the voter's guide that we would like to say is that this is 50% principal forgiveness, so it is through the state revolving fund. Similar what we've done with the headworks and septic receiving station financing. And I'm here to ask any questions you guys might have. I can answer them.
Thank you, Charlie. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Steve.
I just have one question. Could you explain a little bit more about the 50% forgiveness relative to the bond, the borrowing?
It's part of the program through the state revolving fund, which is financing through New Hampshire DES, based on our qualifications. And they look at how your rates are paid. They look at medium income for the community and determine how much you would qualify for principal forgiveness. And based off all of those factors, we qualify for 50%. At what point? At the beginning. At the beginning of the loan. So it's really 50,000 more than. That's the point. Yeah. Sorry.
Any other comments, David?
Charlie, would you explain what the improvements are and why they're needed so everybody understands the importance of the project?
I'll do my best. I might have to ask Rusty to come up here too and help that. But the big one is the blowers. The blowers are, highly. We probably spend, Rusty, I think $30,000 a year in energy for the plant, and this project will bring that down. You want to add something? Anything, Rusty? Come up to the mic. This is Rusty Cross. He's our new superintendent. Well, actually, he's been here quite a while. We're technically new under the town.
So the blowers we have right at the moment, they're over 20 years old, and the components of them aren't available anymore. So with upgrading them, we'll get back in kind of with the times of things, and it'll be just much more energy efficient with what's out there today.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing no other questions, Article 3 will appear on the ballot as presented. Article 4, estimated tax impact, $12.19. Shall the town of Ashland raise and appropriate as town general government operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted within the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth totaling $3,009,256. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $2,930,397, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Ashland or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget. This is recommended. I don't have the vote on what the Budget Committee voted on this. It's not in my book. It's not listed. Oh. It didn't get in my book. It was recommended by the Budget Committee 6-1. Does anybody have any comment to make on this town general government budget? Steve?
I just have one question. Could you possibly just let us know what percentage the town budget is of the total budget with school and everything else, so that there's a better understanding of how much the town budget plays into our property tax?
Thank you.
Well, this is the budget for the town without the school. As for the tax total, give me a second, I have to look that up. I can only last year the total tax rate was $27.95. The town's was 37% of that, and the schools was 48%. The rest being state and county.
Thank you, Charlie. Does that answer your question, Steve? Any other comments? Sandra?
My question, and it hasn't been answered and I've asked it, is what is the percentage, if everything passes this year, what will be the percentage versus the school as how much we're going to be paying in taxes? Because right now we are one of the highest taxpayers in the state, in the state of New Hampshire. Our rate is very high.
Has anybody calculated if all the warrant articles, moneyed warrant articles pass?
No, I haven't done that because I don't know if all the articles are gonna, no, we haven't calculated all that.
Seeing that we don't know that, and there are warrant articles there that are going to raise our taxes, then I would like to make a motion do you have to write it?
You can say it, but then you need to.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to decrease the budget, the bottom line, by $200,000. That is my.
And so before I call for a second, you can write that down. Are you decreasing the $3,000,009 figure? Okay. I'm going to calculate that so I can. Okay, the motion, and do I have a second before I go on? All right, second for discussion by Jeanette Stewart. I need to read the first and then I'll call on you for discussion. The motion on Article 4 is to adjust for the purpose set forth there in totaling. The original figure was $3,009,256. Sandra made a motion and it's been seconded to decrease the bottom line budget by $200,000, which would make it $2,809,256. I did that by hand, so if anybody, that's what I came up with. If anybody, is that what you came up with? Okay, very good. Thank you. And Fran. Oh, and then Pat.
First of all, a lot of these warrant articles are ones that we've had every year. They're capital reserves, so they don't add to your tax rate. They're already built into your tax rate. Secondly, the fire engine payment is going away. So once we pay that off, it's going away. Some of the DPW vehicles, are in their almost last payment or next to the last payment. Decreasing this budget by $200,000 is unbelievably short-sighted. I'd like the town to tell me what it is you'd like to get rid of. Personnel? Where do we cut? Police? Perhaps DPW. Maybe we don't need to plow the roads. Most of our budget is staff, and we have just about enough staff to get things done. Where do you want to cut the budget? $200,000 is a tremendous amount of money. I hear it. The taxes are high. Contrary to popular opinion, they're not the highest in the state, but they're high. They're high for a small town. We do need to decrease our tax rate, but cutting the budget $200,000 is a very short-term fix, and you're going to pay a whole lot more because you're going to be giving up services. We need to decrease our tax rate by thinking ahead, by looking further at economic development, by finding ways to cooperate with other towns, by making new relationships. There's a ton of other things we can do. Cutting the budget is really, really short-sighted. Think long-term, people. Yes.
Technically, Patsy was next.
On Tuesday, the 4th, at 6:30, the school budget is going to be having the same meeting. I hope you're all there. Usually we get 2 people, and I hope the same motion is made to cut the school budget.
Okay, we're moving on to another subject, but thank you. Charlie?
I have an answer to your question about the total budget. Last year, the total budget that was voted in was $3,436,173. The total recommended this year is $3,427,391. So the budget this year is a reduction of $87.82.
Can you say that again? Last year, are you talking about town general government? Last year's budget was what? How come in the warrant article it says the default budget, which is the same as last year, is $2,930,000? Oh, okay, sorry about that. And Sandra had an additional question to her original question.
I would not have made a motion to decrease the budget by $250,000 if I had, $200,000. Except that I know that there is a lot of money in undesignated funds. Not $1 million, but there is a lot of money. I believe it's 900 and some odd thousand. Now the DRA states that we have to keep a certain percentage because if there's an emergency. Well, over $900,000, what are you going to do with all that money? And where is it going to go? It's staying there right now. So if it's not being used to reduce the tax rate, what do the Board of Selectmen plan on doing with this? And now that we have a town manager, what does he plan on doing with it? We need to address what money we have. It's just sitting there and it can be used to decrease our taxes.
It could be used to reduce the taxes, as what was done in the past. But I think what we've done since 2018 is put the question back to the voters that says, do you want to use your taxpayer money to put back into capital? Instead of reducing the taxes in 2018, we did a property tax GIS project that was no taxation. Last year, we used the voters approved, I would say, $180,200 to do a lot of projects. We built a new building at the transfer station. We added 2 new bins there. We put in a scale. We did our GIS project. We actually had approved for $25,000 for unanticipated expenses. This year, we want to use unassigned fund balance for the parks. We want to resurface the parks. We want to use a little bit money to get a new dump truck. You know, this is all no taxation, and it's all being put back forth to the voters to ask the town, is this what you want to do with your tax money, instead of just having the selectmen cut your taxes.
Okay, are there any new, Alice, would you like to go to the mic?
I'm curious about how much would the difference in the tax impact be with this $200,000 reduction? How much is that really going to change that $12.19?
Good question.
$250,000 cut, it's about $1. So it's $1,000 into your total assessed valuation. The town's is about $247 million. So it'd be a little bit under $1.
A little bit under $1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Rick, I did not see your hand previously.
Good morning. My name is Rick Perret. I'd like to thank the 1% of the town that actually showed up for this. If 1,600 people in town vote, it's a pretty poor showing. Thanks you for all showing up. I've been a resident of the town for 40 years. I've been a business owner in town for 35 years. I've been an elected town trustee for 20 years. Just perspective and transparency has always been my mantra at all these meetings. The number was just thrown around that there's less than $1 million of capital reserve fund. The actual number is 1.76843116. All right? Now you can argue that point with me if you'd like, but that's the document that was provided to the state on an MS-9, which is an accountable form, December 31st of 2019. I don't know where the 908 comes from. I don't know who subtracts and add. There, to my point, transparency, right? Numbers at these meetings. Would you like me to pass that to you, Charlie? Would you like to see the document? Okay, I know you have it. Transparency, when we're discussing these articles, warrant articles, petitioned articles, it doesn't matter. We all throw a number out there because we tend to round up numbers. You know, I'm not going to go back to the wishes and the wants of the library. That I can take care of in the voting booth like everybody else. But as a trustee, I would report to you that that trust fund, as of December 31st, was $108,000. Last year at this time, it was $96,000. The trust fund is not going away. The wishes and the wants of Emma Scribner 39 years ago, when it entrusted trustees to take care of the trust fund, I'm sure if she's looking down on us now, she's decided that we've done a good job. All I'm asking the board, the people, the taxpayers, and the voters is to be very secure in the fact that when we give them information, it's appropriately acknowledged and delivered to the people so they understand exactly what we're talking about. We can throw numbers around all we want. Fact of the matter is that the numbers need to be presented in an appropriate manner. When we talk about this is going to cost this much, there is always underlying issues. We never come forth when we're presenting articles and come out with the right number. I give you the Thompson Street project, which has been thrown down the stairs 4 years running. Is it a good project? Yes, but the people don't understand what's involved. If they don't understand what's involved, they have a hard time looking at the big number. We are a working class community. If you take a $5,000 tax bill at their house, and it's high for some and low for others, when I moved into the town, my tax bill was $1,400. Now, I've been here 40 years, but in that 40 years, the infrastructure of the town we haven't added to it that greatly that my tax bill now encroaches $7,000. If you take $5,000 and you divide it by the week, I'm a weekly guy. You think about things, what do they cost by the week? Because basically we're all living on a weekly budget at some point. You take a $5,000 tax bill, and that's costing a guy that's working 40 hours a week, $2.40 an hour after he pays his taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Any other, before we vote on the motion that's on the floor, been made and seconded, any other pertinent comments to this? Go ahead, Steve.
I just want to ask a couple of questions relative to comments made about the use of the unassigned fund balance. First question is clarifying to everybody that that is not cash that is in a bank, which is a very important point. And number two is the smaller a town, the higher percentage you need in unassigned fund balance to make sure you take care of emergencies that may occur, of which there are many that could all of a sudden impact us. So I guess the basic question is a basic communication to everybody on what the unassigned fund balance is and what it is not, and how much of it is actual cash.
Thank you. Charlie, do you want to address that?
The unassigned fund balance is basically all that's left that's committed at the end of the day. And what I mean by that is, in our overall budget, we have commitments with our budget. For example, you have capital reserve funds, the appropriations that we have to pay to the trustees by December 15th. You have debt obligations that you have to pay, and there might be some type of vote that, you know, we're committed to pay. Basically, it's also whatever's left of that at the end of it. So if your budget is $3 million, you have $100,000 left over that the departments didn't use, that rolls into the unassigned fund balance. We estimate our revenues with DRA. We estimate them low because if we miss our estimated revenues, then that money would come from our budgets. So you purposely have them low, but whatever comes over from, say, motor vehicle registrations, we usually estimate about $375,000. If we bring in $400,000, that would roll into the unassigned fund balance. And so it's really just an accumulation of all of the stuff that wasn't accounted for, that wasn't spent, accumulated over the years. Yes, taxes too. Yeah.
Steve, did that answer your question? No. Okay. Go to the mic, please.
The part that I want to try to make sure that is understood is, if we say we have $800,000 in unassigned balance, there's not $800,000 sitting in a bank account. Correct?
There's a difference between the way GASB counts it, and there's a difference the way the DRA calculates it. And it's not all cash, because DRA assumes or calculates the unassigned that includes people that haven't paid their taxes fully.
And that's my point is, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of dollars that are in there that are not realized dollars. We don't have them.
That's right.
They're maybe owed to us. Whether they get paid or not is a whole nother question.
It's not all cash. Right now we have $780,000 in the unassigned. About 500 of it is cash, would be considered, and the 280 is, you know,
which would be a difficult number to calculate.
That's right, it is. You know, we're at 10%. DRA recommends between 5 and 17%, and we've been at a good spot, about 10%, maintaining for anything that happens during the year.
Thank you. You had your hand up next, please.
Dick Ogden. I'm a resident of this town over 40 years, and I'm also a Scribner trustee. I look at this appropriation list you have here, non-petition ones, and the non-petition appropriations are totaled up to a little over $1 million. I think we ought to give some serious thought to just how many things we're going to say yes to, because you're going to pay for it dearly. And a lot of things are very worthwhile on here if we can afford them. There was a comment made earlier that a particular item was a bargain. A bargain is only a bargain if you can afford it.
Thank you. Okay, I
Charlie Bozzello. I wondered if maybe Charlie or a board member could comment on what is driving the request for the increase in the budget, and maybe make a comment on what might be impacted if we were to have that $200,000 reduction that's been proposed.
Charlie.
I mean, a $200,000 budget cut would probably affect staff. It'd affect our staff, and we would have to probably reduce staff, and once you reduce staff, you reduce services. Basically, about a third of your budget, this overall budget, is staffing, you know, and then probably about another third is, you know, overhead, and the rest being capital expenditures. Yes, yeah, it's staff, it's pretty much staff and related. Yeah, department heads are trying to offer more and better service for the public, I would say.
Thank you. David?
Dave Toth. One of the considerations for the size of the unassigned fund balance that you need, it's a difficult calculation to make. They give you a wide range. The DRA says that you need more of a percentage if you're a small town than a large town. But one of the things that I would consider in choosing a level between 5 and 17 is the amount of outstanding capital improvements that you need. And that's the number of vehicles that you'll need in the next 5 or 10 years, the number of buildings that you need to repair or purchase, the number of roads that need to be done, and so forth. Because that's where your emergencies come from. Okay, culverts wash out, a large plow truck breaks down and needs to be replaced. And if that happens, where does the money come from? Well, it comes from, or can come from, the unassigned fund balance if you have it. So I would say that we don't have a really good estimate of where our capital needs are right now. I'd say they're fairly high because we haven't done a capital improvement plan in a couple of years, and so 10% may not really be a good number for us at this point, but it's certainly better than lowering it.
Okay. Sandra, and then Rick.
I won't be long, Rick. I agree with what everybody is saying, but I don't fully agree. I don't fully agree with Charlie as far as our employees. He's talking about employees, and I believe someone just got up and was talking about material things, trucks and cars. So everybody does have a different view on that unassigned, fund balance. But everyone has to remember too, every year, or I believe once every 4 years, and I'm not sure about this and I can be corrected, is that the value of your property, it changes. And it doesn't go down, it goes up. When it goes up and your taxes go up, you're paying even more. If your property stayed at $100,000 and your taxes went up, all right, but if your property went up to $130,000 and your taxes went up, you're paying more. So someone's talking about material things and our town manager is talking about employees. I'm on the budget committee, so I agree with a little bit, but I do not agree with it all.
Okay, Rick?
I just want to be clear on the terminology that we're throwing around here, unfunded balances, yep. Those are all accounting terms. The fact of the matter is that we're voting on a $3 million budget. And this is perspective. I'm not talking about what it is or what it is not. But in perspective, if we have a $3 million budget in town and we have $1.8 million in reserve, is that a little unbalanced? That appears to me to be more than your 5 to 17%. I'm not disallowing the value of putting money away. I'm just trying to put things into perspective, okay? The 5 biggies that we have in a water tank account, we have $102,000. In road improvement, we have $390,000. In septic receiving, we have $167,000.
Okay, you got to stick with town general government because all those are...
This is town business.
Okay.
This is town business. I'm just making a point of where the money is.
I understand.
So I'm all done. Thank you very much.
I just meant there's other warrant articles. Ma'am, you had a question.
Hi, I'm Jenny Angel. I just want to have a clarification of something that was just said. Your property taxes may go up over a 4-year period during reassessment or through inflation. That does not increase what you pay in taxes. There is total assessment on the town, and it may adjust, but your property going up for inflation does not increase your taxes. And so on this one thing that I think would be helpful for me in the future, and maybe it's not required, but what is the total assessment and what kind of changes have happened to that assessment during the year, such as the new very expensive houses that are put up behind River Edge, what's the economic development, how many commercial abatements have been requested that will reduce the assessment value. This is what affects the overall property taxes, and I don't see any information on that here to help us.
Okay. Are there any answers?
We're required by state law to do a town-wide reval every 5 years. The reval happened in 2018. What Sandra said, that everyone's property goes up, that's not the case. There are some properties that can go down in value. Our property value with no utilities, because the state does it with utilities, or with no utilities, and we do it with utilities. The total assessed valuation in 2019 was $246,773,64. Well, in 2018 it was $245,885,361. It barely went up $1 million. Now, just because it goes up, that lowers the rate because that's divided into it. So, you know, if it goes the other way, the tax rate goes up, right? And tax rate obviously is contingent upon the budget and the assessments. It's just a basic formula that's divided into it to come up to the rate.
Did that answer your question? Partly. Okay. Any new questions? Steve?
I just want to say, I think there's been some very good comments and questions related to the budgets that we're talking about. And one of the things that the select board might want to consider is, I know a number of years ago we had like financial forums, which were a forum where these kinds of questions could be asked and answered prior to this kind of a meeting, which would probably make this meeting a little bit more, go through it a little bit more brisk. So my suggestion would be to consider the idea of doing some sort of a financial forum so that these kinds of questions can be asked and answered far enough ahead so that people have the information they need.
Good point. Okay. Any other new questions from new people? I don't mean new people. Anyway, Article 4, we're voting on this motion to raise, now let me see, I can't read your writing. What does that say? Okay. The motion is to, on Article 4, to decrease the town general government operating budget from $3,009,256, $200,000 decrease, which would make it $2,809,256. So that is a motion. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of this $200,000 town general government operating budget, please raise your red voting card. Okay. All those opposed? The motion fails. Are there any new questions on this particular article? Seeing none, Article 4 will appear on the warrant in March as printed. Article 5, no tax impact. Shall the town of Ashland raise and appropriate as the Ashland Electric Department operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately? I'm going to skip for the purposes set forth therein totaling $2,954,700. Should the article be defeated, the default budget shall be $3,254,040, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by the previous action of the town. Recommended by the Budget Committee 4-1. Are there any questions on the Ashland Electric Department budget? Seeing no hands, the Article 5 will appear on the warrant as printed today, as it appears today. Article 6, no tax impact. Shall the town of Ashland raise and appropriate as the Ashland Water Department operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles, the amount set forth of the budget posted with the warrant for the purpose set forth therein totaling $224,470. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $239,189, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments. This is recommended by the Budget Committee 4-1. Do I have any questions regarding Ashland Water Department? Seeing no hands, Article 6 will appear on the warrant as presented today. Article 7, no tax impact. Shall the town of Ashland raise and appropriate as the Ashland Sewer Department operating budget? I'm going to skip a little bit. For the purpose set forth therein, totaling $430,733. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $480,935, which is the same as last year. Recommended by the Budget Committee 4-1. Any questions, Ashland Sewer? Seeing no hands, Article 7 will appear on the ballot as presented. Article 8, no tax impact. To see if the municipality will vote and raise the sum of $75,000 to evaluate the long-term viability of the wastewater treatment plant and to authorize issuance of not more than $75,000 in bonds or notes in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Finance Act, RSA 33, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue and negotiate such bonds or notes and determine the rate of interest thereon. 3/5 ballot required. Recommended by Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions on this wastewater treatment plant? You have? Oh. Any questions? None. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead, sir.
John Coolidge. My question, and it probably relates to all the last 3 or 4 articles, is there anything being done to look at sort of alternative energies like solar or wind power or anything like that to sort of offset some of these costs for the town?
In regards to the wastewater treatment plant?
Well, that and all the others, basically, and it's sort of a general question
Okay,
to the sort of utilities of the town.
Yes, the water and sewer does have, sewer does have solar addition, but we did, this board, I was a point person for solar information, and I have been giving reports and looked into different presentations, and we have brought them forth, and we have had hearings at our meetings. We haven't had one for a couple months because we have had other bigger issues to look into. However, my term ends in March and I'm not running again. Thank you for those who asked me. But I am going to be forming a citizens committee on renewable energy, mainly looking at solar because I've made a lot of contacts. So if you want to contact me, my number's in the book and I'd be welcome to have any of you on that committee. Thank you.
Did that somewhat address your... Okay. All right. Charlie.
One other thing that we missed on Article 8 for the voter's guide is that this is 100% reimbursement. But we have to spend all of it, which I'm sure find ways to spend all of it, right? But if we do, it's through SRF. Real quick, as for solar, the commissioners did as part of the project on the Headworks and Septic Receiving Station, they installed solar panels, or going to, on the roof for that.
Okay, based on what you said, do you want to put that in the form of a motion, a sentence to go in there? Oh, you're just going to put it in the voter's card. Okay. Are there any other questions on Article 8? Seeing no others, Article 8 will appear as presented. Article 9, estimated tax impact 44 cents. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $107,789 for the third-year payment of the 4-year lease purchase agreement for the fire department fire engine as authorized by vote on March 14, 2017. This will be the final year of a tax impact, with the last payment next year coming from capital reserve. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions on the fire truck? Amanda?
It reads that it's a lease. Is this a lease to buy? What's going to happen 2 years from now?
Okay, Chief Heath?
The town will own the vehicle after the final payment is made next year.
Okay, does that answer the question from Chief Heath? Okay. Seeing no other seeing no other signs, seeing no other hands, Article 9 will appear as it's presented today. Article 10, estimated tax impact 11 cents. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $27,142 for the third payment of the 5-year lease purchase for the Public Works loader. Board of Selectmen recommend 5-0, recommended by Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions on this? Seeing no hands, Article 10 will appear as presented on the warrant. I'm going to entertain a motion to limit reconsideration on all the votes taken to this point, so we can't go back and vote. Made it. Seconded. This motion has been made and seconded to limit reconsideration on all votes taken at this point. This means, for people not familiar with the terms, that we can't go back and revisit the library. We can't go back and revisit town government, just so everybody's clear what this means. All those in favor of the motion to limit reconsideration on all votes taken to this point, please raise your red cards. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Article 11. No tax impact. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $125,000 for the purpose of purchasing a 1-ton dump truck. Of this sum, $55,000 will be withdrawn from the Public Works Capital Reserve Fund to be offset by the Highway Block Grant in the amount of $30,000, and the remaining balance to come from undesignated fund balance, and no amount to be raised from taxation. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Do I have any questions?
Just for clarity, in trying to understand this, when we say things like the remaining balance to come from undesignated fund balance and no amount to be raised from taxation, it kind of gives a sense that it's free. That when it comes from the undesignated fund balance, we're saying that we've already taken that into account in the overall budget. So we are spending money, and at some point, it has to be replenished through taxation to rebuild the fund or to continue the fund's use. Comment?
No, it's already money that's been appropriated. That basically it's been voted on in the past that to build up the capital reserves, and it would come from that. It also comes from the block grant. That's revenue from the state. So we put unassigned, but remain in balance to come from unassigned, just in case, for example, the state doesn't give us the block grant. We fully expect it, but DRA changed that article to read like that, just in case we don't, get that. But it's not for free. It's what's been asked for basically in the past. Oh, the capital reserve, yes, that's in there, yeah. No additional current, no, yeah.
Do you?
Just quickly, you're right, it will have to be replenished, but you'll notice on the warrant that there are several articles that replenish the capital reserves, that we've been doing that for years, which allows us to use that money for current needs. So there is no tax impact.
Ms. Downing?
Sherry Downing. So, just for everybody's information, Charlie, do you know what's in the Capital Reserve Fund for Public Works? What are your numbers? See if they match mine. I got 57,830. So, this is more updated than yours because I requested it. No, I went and got this personally between our last budget meetings, and so this is more updated. This was last week's. So, I don't know, in my mind, I'm looking at, you're taking from the undesignated fund balance. So you're gonna like pay off and lower the buy a truck instead of lowering the taxes. So if you take that out of the capital reserve, your capital reserve for the public works will be $2,830. Now, I understand there's another warrant article on here for another $25,000. Last year when you wanted, I don't know if this pertains, but last year you dropped all the capital reserves, $5,000, because you wanted your contingency. I noticed they're all back. Yes, that's what you said last year in your meeting. You dropped them all, $5,000, to get your $20,000 contingency warrant article. I believe it's in the minutes and you can watch it. I watched it. I was here. So I don't know, in my eyes, you're gonna leave, you're gonna drain the capital reserve, so you're gonna put another 20,000 in, or 25,000 into it. But if you take this out of there, the 55, you're only leaving $2,000 in there. So instead of dropping our taxes, you're paying it for a truck.
Any other? Did you want to speak?
So you are right in that we're choosing to take it from the unassigned fund balance instead of asking for money. But that's, in a way, lowering what the tax would be if we got that truck regardless. If you don't want the truck at all, then yeah, it is an increase. But if you do want the truck, either you're going to pay for it in taxes or from the unassigned fund balance. So this way, we're putting back capital into the town by getting a truck without raising the tax rate by using that unassigned fund balance. That's another reason we keep it high, so we can do things like this and not have to raise the tax rate.
Thank you. I'm a little confused, though, because Charlie, you had said the unassigned, and this is unassigned fund balance the same as undesignated fund balance? That's one and the same? When Rick was speaking earlier, you said, well, you can't really look at the figure. You really only have 780, but, it's really 500. I don't personally understand that, but anyway. Does anybody have any? It's DRA telling us how much money we have? Don't we know how much money we have? Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, any other questions on Article 11, the one-ton dump truck? Go ahead, Lisa.
Lisa Rollins. Craig, could you maybe address why we need the dump truck? Thank you.
Thank you.
So that one-ton dump truck is our workhorse vehicle. We use it all summer, all winter.
Please silence your phones.
So it's our workhorse truck. It was first bought in 2011. The sander that's currently on it was repurposed from the old truck. So it's even older than 2011. So it's starting to rust. The doors on the bottom are rusting through, big holes on it. And it lives in salt. Most towns keep their one-ton vehicles, and every town has them because that's the vehicle that does our short streets, the really steep streets because it's four-wheel drive where the six-wheel dump trucks can't get up. So we beat the heck out of that truck just trying to get up to the top of Peppercorn Hill, all our dirt roads. It really beats it up tremendously. I'm putting a lot of maintenance in it right now. We've spent thousands of dollars. Last year it was over $1,000 on just a control module that rotted away. Sort of the same thing that's happening to the fire department ambulance. The longer you keep these things, the wires get chafed and cracked and things like that. And the chief, the fire chief, is having the same problem with his old ambulance. It's starting to crack. So the more and more maintenance we put into it, the more it costs us to own it. So a lot of towns keep their trucks for 5 or 6 years. That's a 2011. Although we do maintenance, we scale it, we clean the rust every year. It just lives in rust. So we're trying to get rid of it before it really costs us a lot of money. And this still, we're going to keep the truck to try to. We have no backups right now. So a lot of you guys wonder why it takes us a long time to get out on Hicksdale or Peppercorn. It's because we have a truck down or something. We always have a breakdown. Our fleet is so old. This year we had a lot of trouble getting out on Peppercorn. We're plowing with a pickup truck now. And it really, the truck is a couple years old, 3 years old, 2016. And the plow's already worn out on it. New truck we got, because roads aren't really supposed to be plowed with a pickup. So that will give us a few years of a backup truck until I can make some other provisions to have a backup, and there are some options we can do. So we'll keep that maybe 2 or 3 years while I can make some accommodations to have a different backup. So anyway, it's starting to get old, it's costly to maintain it, and we want to replace it.
Thank you, Lisa. Does that answer some of your questions? Any other questions on Article 11? Rick? Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Steve?
Just a quick question on highway block grants. Can those be used for equipment, or are they just supposed to be used for road construction and maintenance?
Roads and equipment for your roads, basically. Can't build a house, can't build a building with it. Basically roads and equipment and anything to maintain the roads.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands, questions, Article 11 will appear on the warrant as presented. Article 12, estimated tax impact 51 cents. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, the sum of $125,000 to be deposited into the Road Improvements Capital Reserve Fund established in 2012 for the purpose of repairing roads. Recommended Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended Budget Committee 6-0. Anybody have any questions? You raising your hand?
I just want to ask Charlie. Charlie, how much is in that fund right now? Thank you.
Road improvements, again, I have 321,603. So. Okay. Okay, I thought that's what I was given also, so I guess not. Are there any other questions? Article 12 will appear on the warrant as presented. Article 13, no tax impact. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $39,300 to be deposited into the property tax map capital reserve fund. The sum to come from the fund balance with no amount to be raised for taxation. Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by Board of Selectmen. Recommended by Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions on the tax map? Seeing no hands, that'll appear as presented. Article 14, estimated tax impact 12 cents. To see if the town will vote and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to be deposited into the Police Department Capital Reserve Fund established in 2013 for the purpose of repairing and purchasing police department vehicles. Recommended by Board of Selectmen 5-0 and recommended by Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions on this? Or comment? Thank you. Article 14 will appear as presented. Article 15, estimated tax impact, 10 cents. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be deposited in the Department of Public Works Capital Reserve Fund established in 2016 for the purpose of vehicle or equipment purchase, replacement, or repairs. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0 and recommended by Budget Committee 6-0. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, Article 15 will appear as presented. To 16, estimated tax impact 10 cents. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be deposited into the Ashland Library Building Capital Reserve Fund established in 2015 for the purpose of purchasing, building, and/or renovating a facility, including furnishing and equipment for the Ashland Town Library. Recommended by Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by Budget Committee 6-0. Any comments or questions on Article 16? Seeing no hands, that will appear as presented. Article 17, estimated tax impact 4 cents. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be added into the Building Maintenance and Repair Capital Reserve Fund for the purpose of maintaining and repairing all town buildings. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by Budget Committee 5-0-1. Any questions? Well, I have a question. In doing my research for today's meeting, I don't show that this has ever been made, this capital reserve. This is brand new, so shouldn't it say to establish? Oh, okay, well then what is the amount? Sorry, I stand corrected. And this is building maintenance. I don't see it on my list of capital reserve accounts at all. It's called Building Maintenance and Repair Capital Reserve, to vote and raise and appropriate. I'm not saying it's not a good motion, I just didn't find it in my list of ones that have already been established. Okay. 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 Huh, okay. I wonder why it wasn't on my list. Okay. All right. Can I answer your question? Uh-huh. Jeanette?
Charlie, is this the capital reserve fund that they're using to replace the windows in the town office?
We encumbered funds from the budget to replace the windows. We received $36,000 in unanticipated revenue from the state this year. The board accepted that at a meeting at the end of the year, and we are using the remaining about $13,000 of that to replace those windows. That capital reserve fund will be used, or can be used, for the repairs to the building that we got from the historical structure report, otherwise known as the LCHIP grant.
Does that answer your question? Any other questions on building maintenance? It'll appear on the ballot as read here. Article 18, estimated tax, well, I don't have an estimated tax impact on 7 cents. Thank you. SEIU Local 1984 Collective Bargaining Agreement, to see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Ashland Board of Selectmen and the SEIU Local 1984 Union, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. 2020, estimated increase 17,514. 2021, $12,686. 2022, $7,891. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $17,514 for the first year of the agreement, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those of the appropriation at current staffing levels paid in the prior fiscal year. Board of Selectmen recommended this 5-0. It was recommended by the Budget Committee 7-0. Does anyone have any comments? Tony, Randall?
I'm just wondering, is there a copy of this agreement that we've kind of agreed to? I guess you guys have agreed to a new thing that the public can view to see what has changed in it?
It's just the cost appropriation that you're looking at. It has not been, until that is passed, it won't be finalized. Once it's finalized, all collective bargaining agreements are listed on the PELRB site. And yes, it will be a public document available for you to look at.
Okay, but we don't get to view any of that to see what kind of deals are made. That may sway a person's decision on whether they want to vote for this or not. What other concessions were made in the agreement when it was done?
At this point, the part that is subject to a public vote is the cost implications of the contract.
Okay, thank you.
And what did you say that is PE? LRB, okay. That's fine. Okay, all right. Did everybody get that if you want to go online? Anybody else have any questions on Article 18? Steve?
Do we know the dollar amount that will amount to over the 3 years when you add all of that up? What's the total dollar amount?
$38,091 over a 3-year period.
Steve, did that answer? Any other questions on Article 18? All right, that'll appear on the ballot. Article 19, no tax impact, special town meeting collective bargaining agreement. Shall the town of Ashland, if Article 18 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call a special meeting at its option to address article cost items only? Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions? Seeing no hands, Article 9 will appear as presented. Article 20, no tax impact. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $27,000 to resurface the tennis and basketball courts at the Ashland Ballpark. This sum to come from the undesignated fund balance and no amount to be raised from taxation. Recommended by your Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions? Article 20 will appear as presented. Article 21, no tax impact. To see if the town will vote to establish a contingency fund for the current year for unanticipated expenses that may rise and further to raise and appropriate $25,000 to be deposited into the fund. This sum to come from the undesignated fund balance and no amount to be raised from taxation. Any appropriation left in the contingency fund at the end of the year will lapse to the general fund. Simple majority vote required. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by Budget Committee 5-1. Any comments, questions? Seeing no hands, Article 21 will appear on the ballot. Article 22, no tax impact. To see if the town will amend the article passed in 2005, which created the Fire Department Apparatus or Equipment Fund, to allow funds in this account to be used for the purpose of paying the billing fees associated with ambulance transport. This requires a 2/3 majority vote, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. Any questions on this? Okay, Article 22 will appear as presented. Article 23, no tax impact. To see if the town will vote to change the name and purpose of the existing Building Maintenance and Repair Fund to the Building and Grounds Maintenance and Repair Fund, and Repair Capital Reserve Fund, for the purpose of maintaining and repairing town buildings and grounds, and further to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from said fund. This requires a 2/3 majority. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. Any questions? Seeing no hands, Article 23 will appear on the ballot. Now we're moving into the petitioned warrant articles. Article 24 is petition, no tax impact, veterans tax credit. To see if the town will vote to raise the veterans tax credit from $1,400 to $4,000 for 100% disabled veterans. Recommended by your Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by your Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions? Seeing none, that will also appear as presented. Petition Article 25, no tax impact. Ashland Historical Society. To see if the town will vote to donate any remaining souvenir items left over from Ashland's 150th anniversary celebration held in 2018 to the Ashland Historical Society. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. Jeanette?
I just wanted to explain about this. I am president of the Ashland Historical Society, and these items were left over from our 150th celebration. Because they were left over, the town had to take them, so they are stored at the town office. The problem is, they can't sell them, we can't sell them. So the reason we're doing this is so that we can sell these items, and the money will go to the Ashland Historical Society.
I did sell a book and I got into trouble.
Duly noted. Any other questions or comments on that? Article 20, seeing none, Article 25 will appear as read. Petition Article 26, estimated tax impact 4 cents, Pemmy Baker Community Health. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,756 for Pemmy Baker Community Health, recommended by the Board of Select 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, this will also appear on the ballot. Petition Article 27, estimated tax impact 2 cents. Shall the voters raise and appropriate $6,000 to the Grafton County Senior Citizens Council, Inc. for services for Ashland residents in 2020. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions? Seeing none, that will also appear on the ballot. Petitioned Article 28, tax impact 1 cent. Shall the voters raise and appropriate $3,500 to Lakes Region Mental Health Center for the delivery of emergency mental health services? Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions or comments? That will appear on the ballot as read. Petition Article 29, tax impact 1 cent, Tri-County cap. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,107 for the operation of Fuel Assistance Program, a community service program provided by Tri-County Community Action Program, Inc. Recommended by your Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by Budget 6-0. Questions? That will also appear on your ballot. Petition Article 30, tax impact 1 cent, Voices Against Violence. See if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 for the fiscal 2019-2020 fiscal year 2019-20 to support Voices Against Violence, a nonprofit crisis center and shelter providing emergency shelter, court and hospital accompaniment, and general support to women, men, and children who are victims of domestic and sexual violence and stalking. Recommended Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions? That will also appear on your ballot. Petition Article 31, 6 cents day away program. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,500 for the day away program. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions or comments? That will also appear on your ballot. Petition Article 32, tax impact 4 cents. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Article 31 was .006. Thank you. Now, Petition Article 32, estimated tax rate. Thank you. .004, Tri-County cap. Thank you. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,041 to support Tri-County Cap's Homeless Intervention and Prevention Program, a community service provided by Tri-County Community Action Program, Inc. Recommended by your Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions on that? Petition Article 33, estimated tax impact .004. Communities for alcohol and drug-free youth, Katie. Shall the voters raise and appropriate $1,000 for Katie, a nonprofit organization serving Ashland and nearby towns, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 6-0. Any questions? Article 34. These are some various building regulations. The purpose is, the first one is Article 34. Are you in favor of amending Article 3.1 of Ashland Building Regulations? The purpose is to clarify that the value for obtaining a building permit includes labor. I'm going to read the first one. Does everybody have a voter's guide? Because these, well, they're not that lengthy. Article 3.1, any person, persons, partnership, trust, or corporation intending to construct or erect a new building or to make structural alterations of an estimated labor plus material cost or market value, if new, of more than $800 shall first make application for a permit on forms obtained from the building inspector. Any questions? Seeing, yes, can you?
Joe Mazzoni, 145 River Street. Suppose you were to do your own work. How does that figure in? You got to estimate what it would cost to have. I mean, Patty couldn't afford me, so.
I don't know who's going to, who?
Right? So I'm going to build a shed or something like that, and I'm going to do the labor. So how does that figure into the $800?
Okay.
The actual cost of any building, the final cost of any building permit obviously would be determined by the building inspector, code enforcement officer. And I believe there are some adjustments that we made if you were doing some of the labor yourself. That would be discussion with the building inspector. Yeah.
Does that answer your question? Any other questions? Article 34 will appear as read. Article 35, are you in favor of amending Article 3.5 of the Ashland Building Regulations? The purpose is to add that inspection of heating units are required after installation. Permits shall also be obtained from the building inspector for all electrical and plumbing work and for the installation of mobile home, wood-burning heating systems, and oil burners prior to the commencement of the work or installation. Inspection of all heating units, wood, oil, kerosene, and propane must be completed by the fire chief or his representative after installation. Any questions on that? Seeing none, Article 35 will appear as read. Article 36, are you in favor of amending Article 4 of the Ashland Building Regulations? Purpose, to remove the outdated list of fees and to clarify who establishes the fees and where they are to be found. Note, list of specific fees will be deleted from the regulations. And reading the correction, application fees. Fees are determined by the Board of Selectmen as per Article 15 of these regulations. The fee schedule is attached to the permit application forms, and fees are to be submitted with the application. Fees for approved applications are non-refundable. Any questions on Article 36? Article 36 will appear on the ballot. Article 37, are you in favor of amending Article 6 of National Building Regulations? Purpose, to remove the outdated list of building and fire codes and clarify which codes are approved for the town of Ashland. Article 6, approved building and fire codes. The town of Ashland adopts and enforces the most recent building and fire codes as adopted by the state of New Hampshire Department of Safety. Any questions? Seeing no hands, Article 37. Now this will appear on a separate ballot. There's extensive zoning ordinance amendment questions. I am choosing not to read these. They're just too lengthy. And so you can take a look at it if you haven't already. If you have any questions, the chair of the planning board will address any questions that anybody might have on the zoning. Also, for those people watching this, these zoning ordinance amendments are at the town office. You can come, and on the website. Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie.
I'd just like to say also that if anyone has any follow-up questions about any of these articles, I'm at the town office every day, 8 to 4. My email is townadmin@ashland.nh.gov. Number is 968-4432. Don't hesitate to contact me whenever you have any follow-up questions, or if I didn't answer anything clearly. Here to do my best to answer what I can.
Thank you. Fran?
Thank you all for coming. I just want to take a minute to thank two very special and important people who have worked with me for the last couple years, and they're leaving the select board. First is Casey Barney. We have really, really enjoyed working with him. I think Casey will admit he's learned a lot this year, and I'm really sorry to see him go. He's been a real added voice to our group. And to Lee Sharks. Lee Sharks has served this town for more years than I know. And I am greatly going to miss her. She has been invaluable in many, many ways, serving on many committees, and I know she's not going to stop serving the town. But my gratitude to her and to Casey for an incredible year. I just want everyone to know how special they both are.
Thank you, Fran. Just as a reminder, town voting day is Tuesday, March 10, here, 8 to 7. And do I hear a motion to adjourn this deliberative session? Oh, I have a hand now. Second? A second? Second. All those in favor of adjourning this? Aye. All those opposed?